welcome to Weekly Open. I'm Brian. We got Don and Josh on the show today. Let's talk about FTX. Our friends at FTX are our partners. Go to weeklyopen.com/FTX. You can trade there today. You can also earn yield on your assets. 8% up to $10,000 and 5% beyond $10,000. You can do that all on the FTX app, rebranded from Blockfolio, but it's the same experience that you've known and loved. Swap directly from one asset to the other, get that yield, track your portfolio. You may not want to track your portfolio today, but most of the time that's pretty fun. Do it all on FTX, weeklyopen.com/FTX. Guys, how's it going? Josh, you're on top. How you doing, Josh?
Oh man, the pressure to be on top. Let me just take this moment and say, good. You know, one thing, let me just get this straight off the bat. As somebody who's an expert in Litecoin press releases, it would never say Litecoin. Easy to say in hindsight, but it would always say Litecoin Foundation or Zcash Foundation. It'll never say a coin specifically. They may have like added it to like e-commerce platforms or whatever, but it'll never say partnered with Litecoin. That doesn't make sense. Anyway.
Good to know. Good to know. Did you take the short?
I wasn't even awake, dude. I wake up about 15 minutes before this thing starts.
Nice. Don, are you feeling euphoric this morning?
Yeah, I mean, that was fucking nice. I love these kind of situations where it's like, you're like 95% sure that you're going to make a shitload of money in like a very, very short amount of time. And then like it plays out in like half an hour.
Just how you always.
Yeah, I love that stuff because I mean, you don't get these opportunities often in crypto, right? You get them more, like way more often than anywhere else, but you get them like 5 to 10 times a year, maybe, where it's like a very, very obvious entry, short time frame that's going to be over and done with in like an hour. And this was one of them. So yeah, pretty happy. Caught the short on Bitcoin. Didn't actually get to short Litecoin down. Cred actually nailed that one. Like he shorted Litecoin down.
Nice.
I just focused on Bitcoin. So yeah, it was pretty nice. Not smooth.
Yeah,
sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say we were bear flagging on high time frames. Now we're bear flagging on like the 5 minute there, the 3 minute. So it looks like there might be another leg down. But yeah, why did BTC get involved in this at all? Right, like.
I think it's basically just like people something that we've talked about on the show a lot, right? Where it's like you get euphoria in a coin and then people are like, okay, risks back on, pump it. I didn't catch the coin, but I mean, Litecoin's just going to pull back. Bitcoin's going to pull up with Litecoin. This is good for the entire ecosystem. But usually when you get like one coin pump that leads to like Bitcoin going up, it's usually not a good sign. Like if Bitcoin's dragged up, because people all jump into like Litecoin, for example. But I think it was just basically everyone being like, okay, a big company just jumped into crypto and that has to be bullish crypto in general. And then they buy Bitcoin.
Hit the bid because a big corporation's doing crypto stuff. It was so, man, like that's the type of thing that if that happened in the stock market, somebody's going to get arrested.
Yeah. Did you guys see that Litecoin, like, the entire thing was so funny. Like it started with like this news coming out being like, okay, Litecoin is adopted or is gonna be adopted by Walmart, right? And then you had like a bunch of people jump into the hype train, right? A bunch of like well-known people that's just like, yeah, why not Litecoin? And I mean, like it got retweeted by pretty much every kind of major news outlet. And then everyone jumped into this shit without even questioning it twice.
Yeah, Larry Cermak on Twitter has a list of people that got duped. It was CoinDesk, Decrypt, Blockworks within the crypto ecosystem. Interestingly, outside of the crypto ecosystem, CNBC, Reuters, Zero Hedge, Bloomberg Terminal. And I don't think that's exclusive, actually. I think it was more than that. I saw a couple others I felt like pop up. But, I mean, it was some of them picked it up. Like it hit Walter Bromberg or whatever, you know, some of those like Bloomberg accounts, the ones that share kind of stream news. They picked it up before like the Litecoin account retweeted it. I can understand a a publication screwing up after Litecoin's official account shared it, which was extraordinarily dumb. But doing, writing it as fact before that was kind of obscene. Niraj was on it quick. Like if you just shorted Niraj's tweet where it was like, this is fake, you made a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So anyway, a lot of bad journalism, a lot of bad double checking, and just general lack of common sense this morning, but entertaining. So
100%.
People want
The way I kind of
clicks,
played
baby.
it, the way I kind of played it was like it pumped, and I was like, okay, this is like the moment I read what was going on, I was like, this is just fishy. It just seems weird. Why the fuck Litecoin? And why the fuck now, right? It just didn't make sense to me. So I was always like already on the fence, and then I looked into it. And I mean, the most obvious kind of sign, and this is like where I just put in more size, was when the Litecoin account basically deleted it. At that moment, that was still like in the 46K range, like somewhere in here. Was pretty damn obvious that I was gonna mega nuke, and then you can just like that's basically a risk-free trade, and you can just slam that. And I mean, worked out pretty nice on Bitcoin. Like I said, if you shorted Litecoin USD on that, you made a killing. Brad hasn't told me how much he's made, but I mean, must have been a lot because he shorted the Litecoin.
He made so
USD.
much he bought a new partner. That's how much he made.
I mean, it's like down 25%, and he nailed pretty much the top. So, props to him.
You know what's interesting about all of this move, and what I think kind of began some of the headwinds in the first place, is that like Legacy looks pretty bad as well. So the market was pretty prime this morning that if Legacy didn't catch a bid, to kind of lose out as well, because Bitcoin kind of round tripped over the weekend, so it's not as bad looking, but the legacy markets, this is probably the most fear that market has had in months. Kind of maybe equivalent to like mid-July, where it kind of had that fake out, curled down and then continue the trend. It could still very well be that here. It hasn't broken any like severe levels. It could go another couple percent and still look completely fine. But there's definitely a little fear in that market. Of course, if you zoom to like all of COVID, it looks absurd. It still looks insanely bullish. But the chat asked us to talk about Legacy, and I think that's worth mentioning is that Friday it basically closed into the lows. That almost never marks a low on a move. Like usually, if you're going to close on the lows on Friday, you're going to go lower on Monday. We're looking at that today. It's only 0.5% on the Qs, not even that on the S&P. The S&P is 0.1%, so it's basically at the closed lows on Friday. But there might be a little anxiety amongst people who've made a whole bunch of money this year in legacy markets, so it's possible that we see some longer-term sell pressure, consolidation, who knows what, in that arena. And then one other thing I was going to look at is, just because I have not done it yet, Josh and I look at this pretty frequently, but the Dixie's not exactly following through on that. So sometimes if you see strength in the Dixie, it can kind of help confirm weakness in the indexes. I don't really see that here. It still looks like a bunch of nothing. Like you can ignore this chart for a year and probably be fine. So it might just be a cleaner kind of cleanse the market a bit and then consolidate is my guess. But do y'all have anything you want to add to the legacy outlook?
Yeah, you know what else is down today?
What's that?
Walmart.
Oh, nice.
Maybe they should have, maybe they should have went through with it.
Maybe not with Litecoin.
Yeah.
What does it matter? Like, who cares? Like, if everything's gonna pump, list of Ripple for all I care. Speaking of Ripple had an interesting thing happen over the weekend too. It randomly got view only mode on Coinbase because I think Coinbase redid their API or something with their API, and like the Ripple people were going crazy.
Yeah,
and it was all just nope, just our API guys. More fake news.
I'm glad I wasn't home for that because I would have.
You would have longed it.
I probably would have gotten fucked by it. Yeah, I think so.
Josh, you can share now too. By the way, I forgot to enable you both. Okay. But Don, do you think this is just going to be another one of these on the S&P?
I think like you should honestly expect it to be like lower high, lower high, low, high low, high low, high low. until it kind of takes it out, and then you can kind of trade the other way around if you want to.
Yeah, change your basis once it proves that.
And I mean, this is not like you can keep doing this, right? Like it's legitimately not done. Like
it's insane.
Like this is stupid.
I think
it's
that's
not
actually
taking out anything.
That's a really good point. Like if it makes a lower low, then that would be the first real indicator in a very long time that there's weakness in that market.
Yeah. And I mean, and in that point, how I'm going to use it, right? I see weakness in this, and I'm going to think that like crypto is going to be weak too.
Right.
But I wouldn't want to be shorting the S&Ps. Like we talked about this, like, I think we've talked about this for like the last half year or something, where I've always been like, I mean, this market is just a scam market. It only goes up. And even if it goes down, it just keeps going up afterwards. So I wouldn't want to be shorting it. If anything, I just like, look at this. If anything, I just use it kind of as confidence for an idea in the crypto market. Like if I think the S&P is going to go down, going to be risk off in crypto, basically. I'm not going to be the guy that hero shorts this. Doesn't make sense to me.
So I want to ask y'all a question that I talked to some folks about last night, which is what level could Bitcoin go to where you still feel comfortable buying the dip? Like where you feel like there's some relative strength. Is there a particular place where you get nervous if it goes below that level?
Yeah, 15 to 20K. Below that, I'd be getting scared.
15 to 20?
15.
Yeah, that's
15.
what I'd be more than happy to buy 15K.
Dude, it's at 44K right now. I'm talking about...
Yeah, but like
that's
getting worried, right? Like I'd start getting worried there about like Bitcoin's future, basically.
Well, I
like
don't mean that. I mean...
Then hit me. What do you mean?
Oh my gosh. I mean, at what level do you feel like this current sell-off becomes more than a little sell-off and continuation and ends up being something bigger? Like maybe make new lows type
38K.
We're not talking failed experiment, Todd.
I mean, now 38K, like on a technical kind of basis, I think then I say my idea about like this being the top and this being the complacency bounds would be confirmed, and then like fucking take it to 20K or whatever. Like I think like 38 to 40K is that line in the sand for me.
Yeah, that was also my level, and the folks I was talking to, some of them felt like it would already look really, really bad if it got to that, which I guess that can happen in a strong market, right? Like you don't, if a market is to be strong, it really shouldn't go fully back to the level that is a must hold, right? But yeah, 38 to 40K was also my level, and purely because of that line going back to January that you point at. That was kind of where our first euphoric move up ended.
Yep.
I'd agree with that level. I'd also say we overcorrected twice. Now we're like overcorrecting the overcorrection, and it's like the mean is around 40K. So I'm not super worried if we go lower than that even. But if we get like series of lows below that, then it's troublesome.
Yeah. So if you get low time frame price action or mid time frame price action that sucks when you're at that level, then that would be concerning. This is yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say the 200-day moving average is at 41.5. So like we got plenty of ways down still to have support. Like I'm not worried.
That's the inferior 200-day moving average.
Yeah, well, whatever. We don't have to bring it up every time now, do we?
No, I know, but I was going to bring it up. The simple moving average actually tells you exit all crypto markets. It tells you we just danced around the 200, consolidated, and now we're cleanly breaking down from it. Like this would be kind of your risk-off moment, according to
That's because that's exactly what it is. Simple. You know, it's for simple people.
Simple
minds.
Yeah, so like my peanut brain would tell me I'm supposed to get out of here. I don't want to.
I mean, September is never a good month for crypto, like ever. Again, backtesting, seasonality, whatever. So any of this to me is just like whatever. It's a garbage month. It's a zero month. It's a trash month. Get it over with. Wake me up when September ends.
If I invert this though, I don't know. It kind of looks like a bunch of nothing, doesn't it? Like maybe it's a double bottom if you're going inverted, and then you would expect, like you said, Don, 20K if it pulls off the full double bottom, but I don't know.
I mean, that's not necessarily what I'm expecting, right? You asked me, like, where do you get really worried? And I don't get really worried anywhere besides that. But like for me, it's actually like on the higher time frames, actually isn't looking too bad. And people always call me bear, whatever. But all I'm doing is like outlining, like if you have been listening, all I've been doing is just say, okay, this is where I want to buy, right? If you say like you want to buy 10 times, can't be too bearish, right? So for me, we're at weekly support right now. That's usually like something I want to buy. The only reason why I'm not like super aggro buying this is because the day looks completely shit. I actually streamed yesterday and talked about it when we were testing that resistance, and I can talk about the day later too. But like the weekly looks pretty good. The monthly is like the monthly and daily. Those are like the time frames that I have an issue with right now. But yeah, the weekly is not bad. As long as we don't lose that level, I think as soon as we do, we have a problem. But yeah, I'm chill until we do.
The same thing on the ETH chart in terms of levels that you could go to and still look relatively good in my mind. I think like 2400 is probably the lowest, but 2400, 2700. You could make this argument for like a 2017-esque consolidation, like kind of like we had back here. The difference back here was that Bitcoin was really strong throughout that Ethereum consolidation back in 2017. Mm-hmm. So I'd be interested in what kind of capital rotation was occurring while Ethereum does a year-long consolidation, starting, or a half-year consolidation starting in May. But the fractal of 2017 is kind of eerily familiar to me right now. And I don't know if that's something that I fully expect to play out or not, but you could easily go from 3,200 to 2,700, which is a nice little dip from here, and maintain that type of fractal. And as low as 2,400, but I get pretty scared below 2,400 personally. So all this looks relatively normal, but it would be pretty scary in actuality, because I wonder if people's positioning doesn't align with that, you know, like, do y'all think, are people still levered up, or how's, what do you think? Like, I feel like the market would not cope well with those types of dumps, you know?
Mm-hmm. I mean, altcoins are pretty levered, I think. Like, Bitcoin isn't too bad, but like everyone's just jumping into altcoins and just taking on like stupid risk. I mean, you saw it with Litecoin today. Litecoin mega popped and then retraced all of it. But yeah, for me, ETH's kind of the same boat as you are, like 2.7K, all good still. And this is what I talked about yesterday, like this resistance, like being retested, not looking too good. That played out today, and now it's like 2.7 is the next support. And I think as long as that holds, it's all good. If we start losing that, it starts getting a little bit scary. Because I mean, you have a bunch of tests down here. You don't want to go in that area again. If anything, I could be fine with like a wick to 2.3K, but if we start closing below there, and it's kind of like the same thing that you said too, where you're like, okay, that's the area that we need to hold. And I think that's the case for ETH still, like 2.7, 2.3, like anything in there, as long as that holds, ETH's just fine. I mean, double tops like this rarely kind of stay around for long in crypto. Mm-hmm. So I'm fine with anything in between there. It's just when we start, like if we start going lower, I don't think 1.7 is going to do a good job anymore. So I wouldn't want to bet on anything below there other than like a complete wipeout. Or like even like, let's say it does go down, like a reclaim or something, I wouldn't want to be buying the dip, right? I'm fine with buying the dip at 2.7 and 2.3, not fine with buying it lower unless it just mega dips and wipes out pretty much everyone. Yeah. That's my view. And
what's your failed experiment ETH target for us, Don?
I mean, if we like go bear market, I think like 800 is a good target.
I like 600, but 800 is fine too. I'll take 800.
I mean, I like that draw.
One thing I'll say about, you're talking about leverage and funding and whatnot, leverage on-chain leverage, at least for borrowing, is at an all-time high on ETH right now.
Yeah.
Way past May.
Is that the borrowing leverage or the just total deposits? That's like is that the ratio? or you know what I'm saying? Or like
I
the total amount, total OI.
I assume it's total borrowed.
Yeah. I don't actually mind if the total OI is making all-time highs. That's more of an adoption metric to me. I think total borrowed relative to deposits would be a really interesting metric to check that I haven't personally looked into yet.
So that's something Flip Metrics could do, perhaps.
Yeah, it is. It's not on our like immediate launch prototype
Fair
stuff,
enough.
but it'll be there. We didn't have a show last week, and that was my fault. Sorry. But one of the things that I certainly would have wanted to talk about and don't want to forget about today is the alternative ecosystem L1 pumps, which has definitely been the rotation to be in the past few weeks. And I felt like kind of hit a crescendo last week as Solana went to $200. Now it's at 158. Now, if I look at this on a daily long-term chart, it looks totally what you would expect, right? If you pull it out of log and put it in a linear, it's a little freaky. And it looks like Solana probably just needs to spend some time repairing itself as people FOMO'd from like 100 to 200 in a week. And then now it just needs to chill. But it was like absolutely incredible move that we had in Solana. And now I would say it's always one you have to be on the lookout for kind of a rapid recovery off of dumps. But at the same time, I don't personally think that Solana is going to go anywhere fast. It went farther than I expected, in the first run. Like I did not think it would get super far past $100, and then it just turboed to 200, so, and people were just very willing to bid it. What's that?
The only two reasons why I can think that stuff pumped is because one, ETH fees went to the moon and the ETH news cycle was over with EIP, whatever. And two, all the FTX advertising seems to have worked and brought capital, but everywhere. It
wasn't just Solana that's been on the move, as y'all know, I've talked about AVAX a lot. I've been playing around there. AVAX has not done what Solana did, but it started its move back here and, kind of went nuts from there. Phantom has done a ton. Inverse Bra has a great chart of kind of like all the layer ones side by side. Unfortunately, I don't have that in front of me to show you. Let me see. Phantom.
A lot of that is liquidity mining Ponzi stuff.
Yeah.
Not that matters necessarily in long-term price, but that's part of the reason why AVAX went where it did.
But AVAX isn't alone in that though.
No. I'm saying AVAX, Phantom, all the bridging stuff.
Yeah. So Phantom bottomed at 15 cents and is now at $1.30. That was in July 20th. So these relative moves are making people a lot of money. That was 750% since July for anyone that caught these. Tezos is on the move now.
Mm-hmm.
XTZ. It's been a while since I've looked at this one. But apparently I have it on my chart. Dadgummit. My watch lists get too long. But interestingly enough with Tezos, it's on the move, but it's back to $7, which has kind of been, that's its prior high. So it makes you wonder, is this just the next capital rotation? Tezos goes into price exploration and, you see a $10, $12 move out of Tezos. They've been going after the NFT angle. Have y'all noticed that?
Yeah. A friend of mine actually works for a company that does NFT of street art and stuff on Tezos.
Yeah, they seem to have gotten a nice pickup of you remember I made fun of them for it at the time, the narrative of this is green NFTs.
Yeah.
I think it actually
Good
worked.
times.
I think it actually worked for getting some of these artists on board because they've got some decent art. It's cheaper art. It's kind of like the slight, maybe decent quality B team NFT realm, and there's some traction there. And I saw some that were, some of these people that speculated early on Tezos NFTs are up 5 to 10x or something on those, and those aren't existing on OpenSea right now, where the fees are really expensive, the prices are really high. So yeah, they've definitely got some momentum on Tezos. I don't know that they have any DeFi stuff. I saw that it's actually quite difficult to
do
the normal DeFi stuff on Tezos, so that's worth mentioning.
Yeah.
But anyway, so layer one's definitely still a rotation game to watch in my mind. Don?
Yeah, I actually like the XTC play, like the Tezos play. I think there's still room to go. Like if layer ones outperform from here, I think Tezos is gonna outperform the most.
The most?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it's just like the narrative's really good.
I wish I caught the rotation, but I don't know if I want to play it for like expecting big things out of price discovery.
I'm not the biggest fan of it in general. And I mean, like the smart contract stuff on Tezos is like meh at best. But
right.
I think like they're spending so much money on advertising now. Like it's interesting to kind of hear from like a little bit on the inside and on what they're kind of doing. And that's what I've been kind of hearing.
I forget
the last week.
Forget which field it was, but it was like a Mets game or something like that. It was a Major League Baseball game, and on the back wall was like a bank or an airline, like one of the type of brands you expect, and then a gigantic Tezos poster on the back wall of this baseball field.
Yeah, I feel like they're trying to grasp the opportunity to kind of push the narrative that
green
like
crypto.
Yeah, and they've actually also allegedly, I don't want to like put anything in their mouth that they only allegedly did, but there's been a lot of like EVE negativity pushed by the Tezos people.
Oh yeah.
From what I've been told,
they're going to war. Like
yeah,
they don't want to play nice. I read some article where I can't remember the lady's name. That Brightman something.
Yeah. What do you mean you can't remember her name? Come on.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's her name.
She was basically like, we're not here to, be nice to Ethereum. We're here to be an alternative to Ethereum. That's like not just an alternative, but she like kind of was aggressive. It wasn't like a float all boats type of situation.
Yeah. And I mean, when they're willing to spend money to trash other cryptos publicly, then I mean, I think they're gonna try to make a big push. That's why I like it. I think it's gonna fail.
Yes.
Probably.
I think so.
But it's like this is like the game in crypto in general. Like you have these big people. You had it with Bitcoin Cash with Roger Ver, right? They start like they see the opportunity, they push it hard. They fail in the end, but prices go up while they're pushing it like mad. And then, I mean, you can just hop on that and get out again. I think like on that front, like if you look at Tezos, right, how much is it up against Bitcoin really, right? In comparison to ADA or whatever, like it's up like 100%, right? It's still way below where it was in 2020. I mean, I sold it back then. So I'm willing to kind of like, that's one of the plays that I've been trying to get in. It's just been, it's kind of like approached my bids every time and then bounced right before them. Just been a little bit too conservative, but I've been trying to get in for a few days. Haven't managed yet, but hoping I will. Because I think like if you're making a play on the layer ones this far, like this late into it, might as well be Tezos the end of all bull markets, right?
Yeah, I do feel like this. It basically, to me, is a signal that the layer one trade doesn't have long.
Yeah.
When Tezos goes, like it makes me a little nervous if Tezos gets that bid. Part of my narrative around that is not so much like Tezos hate overall. It's just that I don't think their play worked, right? Like I think that there's not really enough room to build all these primitives, these like crypto primitive dApps in yet another language. And OCaml is probably the hardest of them all to like get adopted. And Solana's doing it with Rust, but they're throwing tremendous amounts of money at teams to bring on Rust developers, recruit Rust developers from other ecosystems to come build in crypto. And to bootstrap DeFi and NFTs, like anything that might for some reason use crypto to come do it on Solana with Rust. And that is hard on its own, and they are executing exceptionally. And I don't have faith that Tezos can execute near as well because they've been able to have a head start and they've failed so far. So why should we expect it now? And I just don't expect them to be able to win in that game. And even with Solana, like I'm going to be really impressed if they manage to build out amazing stuff long term because you're outside of the ecosystem where the majority of developer talent existed. So I think the play for a layer one is to have EVM compatibility at a bare minimum and be EVM native as a preference, and then provide your pitch for being like the best place to do EVM stuff and why, right? So like that's kind of the Avalanche model in my mind. Is it's a different security mechanism that's I think better than like Polygon or BSC, but it's different than the limitations of rollups that you have with like optimistic and ZK rollups. So I think that's an interesting play, more interesting than let's recruit people to build stuff in OCaml. And that's why I'm kind of bearish on it overall. And I guess ADA fits into that too. Do y'all even have an ADA chart? Josh, this feels like the type of thing that you would have in your watch list.
How dare you?
I don't mean it in a bad way. It's
I know.
There are some coins that are just like not.
Well, it's funny. It's funny that your attitude towards the new stuff that I think is like complete hot trash that you'll trade versus like other stuff that we also agree on is trash, but acts the same way that price wise that you trade the other stuff.
I'm willing to trade my trash. I'm just not willing to trade everyone's trash.
That's fine. It's just funny. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, Tezos, I was enjoying listening to your conversation, you two. Yeah, I feel like Tezos is going to fail 100%. And it's all just a rotation of what hasn't pumped, what can do NFTs. We were promised smart contracts today by Charlie. So,
but today, that's today. We're imminent.
I think so.
The Zelda news event was basically yesterday.
Yeah, Don, can you throw this against the dollar?
Of course. For the Zoomers among us. Because I have the boomer charts.
And can you just for giggles, can you also throw this on linear? Because I'm just curious how, because so sometimes these moves, like you put them in perspective, like that dip and pump didn't look as severe in log, but look at that. That's from $1 to $3 in like 4 days. That looks like the end to me.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if it keeps going. It's kind of, I think it's a sell the news event. I mean, it could still go. It depends on how the layer ones do, I think. But I mean, I'd be surprised if all the stuff that has been promised actually works like it has been promised. I mean, I feel like Charles kind of does that a lot, promises stuff, and it just doesn't really deliver.
Well, I saw some NFT ADA thing. And I was like, how is that even possible? They don't even have smart contracts yet. Like, what is it? I couldn't find the details on how it actually worked. So yeah, I don't know.
I think it's going to be a great play. Like if they actually manage to get anything working, you just ape into the stuff that they throw up, because the ADA holders, right? And this is like, we can talk shit about ADA all we want, ADA right?
Into it.
Yeah. Like back in 17, you had like a new layer one or whatever. All the ICOs that came on that, like all the rich holders just threw the money at it. And the first ICOs did the best. And then the further along it goes, the worse it does. Obviously, it's the same with DOT, right? Where you had like all the Twitter shills shill like complete garbage in the DOT. And it was basically like all the newly rich DOT holders threw the money at it until they were broke, right? And I think that's going to be the same story with ADA. If there's anything that's actually like working, good idea to like just YOLO into it, I think. Long-term wise, I'd be surprised if this holds up. But I mean, that doesn't really matter, right? If you get like a 10x on like some garbage product on ADA, just because it's the first one, like who cares? Like who cares where ADA goes, right? As long as you don't hold it all the way back
or is
down.
there some centralized place where you can do this? Like, I just don't know if I even want to bridge funds to ADA.
I actually have no idea. I'm just gonna copy trade Hasaka, and that's what I'm gonna do.
The biggest alpha we've ever released on the show, right there.
Just copy trade Hasaka. Yeah, he is like he's killed these layer one rotations. Just absolutely killed them.
And I mean, it's not hard, right? It's just you gotta be like in there with conviction. And if you're wrong, I mean, you don't want to all in this garbage, right? Because it's gonna be garbage. I'm like almost certain. It's just, I mean, You put in a little bit and you hope it gets to a lot, and then you sell, and then you cry because it probably does like a 2x after you sell, or a 3x or 4x, and then you don't buy back in. That's the recipe to win in these things. Worst thing that you can do is buy this garbage, it goes up and you buy more, then you get fucked.
Someone in the chat saying NFTs have been live on ADA for 6 months with native assets. And okay, I don't really know how to do that. We're just boomers here and unbelievers in ADA. Sorry. So you mentioned DOT. It's another one in this category of no all-time highs yet, but you know, overall just been grinding up since the market bottom, and probably on a relative basis looks very good. On a dollar basis, looks like it could make new all-time highs. I'm starting to get shook on like what these market caps will become though, because I remember they were all extremely high before. So
bro, market cap, who cares, bro? Number go up, bro. What are you coming at us with these fundamentals in a bull market, bro?
Well, because they scare me. Here, let's.
I think Dot's almost up too much, I think, at this point. And it's not. It's 2 digits instead of 1 digit, so it's less likely to get like captured by FOMO from integer bias.
This is not even fully diluted value meme. This is $37 billion outright today, so that's quite a lot. All of these pretty much have to stare at Cardano as like a target, sir. Because I feel like Cardano flippings could be the way that you like justify staying in these for the moves up, you know. And if we kind of look down in terms of what's got its eyes on Cardano from a flipping perspective, I think, Solana 46, Polkadot 37, Terra 14, and Avalanche 12. All of those could do multiples or near multiples to get to Cardano at 77 billion. That's the way you justify this to yourself. Peak entertainment would be something going after Ethereum's market cap at 380 billion, which would mean mini multiples. Like this just 10x'd again after 10xing type multiple, which would be very enjoyable. Yeah,
the cope would be unreal.
It would be. Like Ethereum people were pretty mad about Solana over the past week. So like I would be quite entertained if Solana just kept Uber chatting and I'm wrong about $200 being a place to chill and it just keeps going. Like that would be highly entertaining. Unlikely, I think, but entertaining.
Yeah, I think so too. It's unlikely, but I mean, a man can dream, right? But going back to like Tezos, the reason why I actually like it a lot is because they have so much money, right? And they haven't used it. And if they're ever going to use it, I think they're going to use it now. That's why I think like it's attractive. But
what are they going to use
they're not going to
for? Like,
just advertising. I mean, maybe they're going to buy. Who the fuck knows, right?
Yeah, like how much advertising can you really do? Do you need like $100 billion to be one of the largest advertising campaigns in the world?
Yeah, I guess
perfect.
So.
Pump it. If you want to talk about people with money, look at EOS. They've got more money than the universe, basically, but it hasn't really helped.
Used it properly. Yeah,
it hasn't really helped them at all.
But I mean, if they would be using it, like if they wouldn't just sit on it and do like buybacks and shit, I don't know if they can. Probably not. But if they used it in any proper way, I think EOS would moon. It's just, I think they're quite happy with having that much Bitcoin, right?
That thing looks so dead. It looks bad enough to buy. Like it's sat there for so long. I was about to say,
EOS relative to Bitcoin looks absolutely terrible.
Yeah, that looks complete trash to me.
Like this does not look like bull market coin.
No.
This looks like what you would have expected after 2018, 2019 type stuff, you know, like back to the lows. But they just kept dying. That's terrible.
It's never stopped. Yeah. I mean, this is still in the 2018 bear market. Like
compare that to something like Matic. Oh, I was already in log. Like Matic went absolutely ballistic. Yeah, that's very bad.
But I mean, I think that's like, honestly, like how these things work is basically like, it's all rotation, right? Like something new comes up, it goes up. and then it starts bleeding out, and there's some pumps on the way, and then, but generally speaking, like you don't get like too crazy of a pump. Sometimes you get like the double bubble, whatever, but with altcoins, like you get one pump and then you get out, and then you shouldn't get back in usually, besides like trading it, I think. Because like the moment, like EOS, people, when I talk about EOS now, like people are like, okay, this is the most boomer coin ever, right? But it was like the new hot shit in 2017, 2018, right? And that's just 3 years ago. And then you think about stuff that came out this year or last year, that pumped, that's going to be the same exact story 2 or 3 years down the line, right? And it just keeps on like the money just keeps on rolling, and the projects just get left behind basically, and everyone that just kind of buys into it gets destroyed by the new thing pumping. And if you don't get out, yeah, you're stuck holding the bag.
And there also ends up being this empty cathedral concept where they've got a ton of money, ton of VCs, the underlying assets appreciated a ton, but they end up just building ghost chains or whatever. And you got to see, like, even if it's good tech, can it get adoption? Can it get people aping over there and participating? 2 other ones to bring up. I have had these on screen for a minute, so the audience has already seen them, but Atom and Algo also in this conversation of potential L1 rotation and price exploration. Cosmos, I don't know if this is an all-time high, but I think it might be. Up to $37, but interestingly, like you look at this relative to its Bitcoin chart, it looks like a fresh, clean breakout, you know, like just looks really good relative to Bitcoin. Algo, similarly, just retracing its kind of forever down candles back from 2019. And both of these look very tradable at a bare minimum, right? All of these just look very tradable. I don't know, man. I don't know how to approach these. This is a lot of market cap that we're talking about, but I mean, we've probably gone through 8 or 10 layer 1 options. And so there's quite a bit of money there. And then there's quite a bit of money that can, if these start to run dry, funnel back to Ethereum, Bitcoin. Maybe that's where we get kind of our Q4 runs on majors. What do y'all think about that?
I just did a quick scan of Maker Comp, Aave, SNX, and the things that these layer 1s don't have going for them is the SEC like immediately in the crosshairs as far as targeting them. Then they may get targeted like years down the line, but I think that's playing a role too, as people saw what happened with that Coinbase Brian Armstrong stuff last week, right? I think that was the one that was.
Yeah.
And the lending and borrowing coins are down and still down. Like they don't look good at all this week.
I think this layer 1, I think a lot of this layer 1 money is out of DeFi, to be honest.
Yeah,
it's my guess. Or borrow it, like just, I don't know, the volume, the interest. The Ethereum is so expensive to use that all the ETH native DeFi stuff is really struggling. And we haven't even mentioned Arbitrum. Gosh, there's like so many different platform plays, people that are finally launching stuff. Arbitrum is live. It doesn't have any kind of like incentives or anything, but there's tons of scams apparently, like just instantly launching EVM stuff over there. But I've heard that Arbitrum is operationally pretty nice. So it'll be curious I don't understand why these Ethereum DeFi products are not just rushing to not only bring the launch of their products to these places, but also bring liquidity to them more urgently. So anyway, something to bring up. Arbitrums and Optimism both are alive on ETH layer 2 land.
Yeah, holy fuck, does ETH, like stuff on ETH look bad? Jesus, I haven't even looked into that.
People can't trade it. You have to have so much money to trade this stuff on chain.
It's really bad.
Yeah.
It's really bad.
Like look at that shot. What the fuck? That's Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I have more money than I've ever had in crypto, and I am in physical pain trading on Ethereum. And I probably have like more in the ecosystem than most like 2020, 2021 entrants, you know? So like, how do we expect new money and then tell them, hey, here, go spend $300 making a swap? And they're like, dude, I was planning on buying $300 worth, you know? It's just untenable. We need the native layer 2, native layer 1, EVM compatible stuff to be liquid. It needs to be native so that you don't even have to like bridge from ETH on chain. Like you can go, like I'm looking forward to seeing, can our friends at FTX enable withdrawals directly to Ethereum layer 2 or these layer 1s on, Avalanche and other Ethereum compatible places. Like I think that's a killer feature for a centralized exchange. Let people go use their money on these ecosystems and get off of native layer 1 because such a small percentage of people can afford to be there.
Yeah. I mean, that's how like the fees being so high, that was kind of what ended the last bull market, right? Doesn't have to repeat. And I mean, there's ways out now and there weren't back then, but I mean, something to keep in mind, right? If this stuff isn't usable, it's going to go down. I mean, it doesn't have to mean that we're going to get into a bear market or anything, but like when you can't use stuff, people stop using it, obviously. And then it just dries up and then interest dies down. It's not even about like the price too much. It's like interest on both sides, both from like people getting in, like retail getting in, and also on the developer side, right? Well, like, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to work on something new on this if it's just going to cost a shitload to work with.
Yeah.
And I mean, back in 18, Bitcoin wasn't usable because of the fees. And then we got ETH ICOs and ETH wasn't usable because of the fees. And then both crashed to almost nothing. So that has to be fixed relatively soon, I think. Ethereum
layer 2 scaling and Ethereum layer 1 longer term scaling both need a lot of work. I say this as if I'm bearish. I'm not, because I think these things are actually inevitable for Ethereum. But in these periods of pain, it creates an environment for contraction. And I think it totally plays into the slowdown for NFTs as well, because no reasonable people want to go contract with OpenSea on Ethereum layer 1 either. The only people that can play are the people that have budgets to buy pieces for 100 Ethereum a piece or something. Like if you're buying something for 0.01 Ethereum, it's going to cost 0.01 Ethereum just to make the purchase if you're lucky. Yeah. And that's not a small amount of money. That's $30 for like a avatar picture, or if you're paying $300 for an avatar, $3,000 for an avatar, it feels expensive to transact.
I was trying to pull up the NFT volume. Best I could do is DApp radar, but we've gone from 302 million in late August to currently 45 million. So that's a quick decline. Almost. But it's okay. It's okay, guys. EIP 1559 has burned 54% of ETH since net reduction. So it's okay. Everything's fine.
I mean,
that's all that matters. That's all that matters.
I know you're trolling, but genuinely, I think that's true. From a monetary policy perspective, Ethereum is very strong. It's that I think the problem is like, I think 1559 was a net problem for fee scaling. Like it wasn't neutral. I think it actually made fees seem more expensive overall. Or it was just the NFT mania was so significant that it felt that way. I'm not sure which.
I mean, the point of it, like ETH's always been like the good part about ETH for me anyway, has been that it's used, right? It's not about, being sound money or something. So it's always been kind of like this weird thing where it's like, yeah, you want to have it go up, but I'd rather have it go up by people using it rather than just like trying to burn as much ETH as you can. But
yeah, I think it is and will be both. It's just that the monetary policy side of it came in before the scaling was really ready. You can almost tell attempted it at the same time, but layer 2 takes time to bootstrap. So that's where money went to layer 1s. Money went to where people could afford to use it. Yeah. I'm going to maintain bullishness on EVM compatible layer 1s. That's kind of where my bets are. And this is basically why. And I think one of the things that would make it very interesting would be when and if and how OpenSea creates support for these chains. I think you do have some support on Polygon, but I'm not sure. Really, all the trading is only occurring on layer 1. So I wonder, like, could OpenSea or more liquidity with Uniswap or some of those, could that be the difference maker for getting people to move? I think a lot of people just think it's too hard still, or don't understand, or don't want to deal with, the bridging qualms and stuff. But I think as people learn how to get past that, it will improve. All right, why don't we do parting thoughts?
Sure.
What do you think? Just feel like we killed everybody on leverage on that chart you just showed. What was that?
Yeah. I mean, like the 4 hour looks complete garbage.
That was a 4 hour Bitcoin.
Yeah. But in general, like with these kind of moves, right? And this is something I see a bunch of people like do stupid mistakes on. Like you get a massive, massive reaction to the upside and it's fake news. And then you obviously get like people jump into leverage here and they're obviously going to get fucked below where the move kind of started. That's always how this stuff happens, right? And then people expect continuation immediately. And I don't think that's going to happen, right? You're probably going to go like, most likely you're going to go sideways. That said, like in the immediate aftermath, that said, like on the daily, and this is something I talked about yesterday as well. And I mean, it's even more true today. We've tested this support so many times. If you look at it, that it's starting to get scary. Like I wouldn't want to be like, I'm sitting here just as like a higher time frame trader. I'm not going to be buying this. Like, no thanks. It's at support, yes, but might as well not be, just based on how often it's been tested. So for me, there's basically 3 bullish trades that you can take. And I mean, one of them is just a breakout above resistance, above 46.3K. I think that's going to be a momentum play that you can make into like 49, 50K. I think it's a pretty good bullish play. The other one is a failed breakdown play from here. Let's say we break down and then we reclaim like the 44, 45 region. I think then it's going to go and have a second leg towards 50K as well. And the third one is if you want to be buying like the mega dip and you're speculating on it, I think like into the 38 to 40K region is kind of the last time you can buy. So it makes sense to kind of do that and then hope it's going to play out to the bullish side of things. And if that's the case, if we go down there and then start showing strength, I think we could easily go to 46, if not 50 as well. So there's 3 bullish plays that you can make. 4 if you want to be buying the support, but I'm not going to. And on the bearish side of things, I think it makes a lot of sense to be bearish. Like in general, I've been saying since we broke this down, that bearish below 50K makes sense. And I still maintain that. But like, if you want to have like a confirmation of like more downside, I think like below 40K makes a lot of sense. Like you don't want to be aggressively dip buying if we continue making new lows below 40K, I think. Then you just want to let it go and buy like even higher time frame support areas. So I'm kind of expecting to at least, even if you're bullish, set a weekly wick and then close back above. That'd be like my favorite bullish setup. And that would kind of coincide with one of the 3 bullish setups that I've just talked about. That's kind of what I'm looking for Bitcoin. Yes.
Are you telling me that we might have just done the top and bottom framing of a new crab market?
Oh, I fucking hate it. I fucking hate it. If this goes sideways from here, like in general, like here, or like between 40
I was kind of thinking a larger crab. Yeah, like
40
between
and 50.
40 and 50.
Yeah, I mean, I've been kind of thinking about it and I've been dreading it. I'd hate it. I'd absolutely hate if we went sideways in here. But I think it's possible. Yeah. And I think like in general, like there's good plays to be made. It's just none of them involve this support level that we are right now, besides like losing it and then regaining it, because
I feel like that liquidity sweep of people saying, oh, I guess 40K is next because this level breaks down is the way every continuation has occurred in crypto. Like if you just look at the big one that we had in July, like it required breaking down before going up, but it was a pathetic down because instantly it just got bid. Seems like every time we have continuation up, you get that like nice fill that's going to freak people out, but not get to the target.
That'd be my favorite one too. And I think like we talked about, I think we were like talking down in the 30s and we were all like saying, this looks pretty shit. And then the moment it went back above there, and this is the same thing, right? Let's say we trade below 44K. I'm still going to say this looks complete fucking garbage.
Yeah,
but if it
but it's
goes,
probably a peak buy.
yeah, it might be the best buy. But if it goes back above 44, like into 45 after it's done that, it turns from super garbage because it's technically a breakdown into the most bullish setup that you can get. Because as Cred always says, the best bullish setup is a failed bearish one, and vice versa, right? And in this case, it looked really bad, and it was really bad until you had the move back up where everyone is trapped that sold it. And then you're like, okay, you have momentum on your side, you have people trapped, this thing can run. And but yeah, people always misunderstand this kind of stuff, because something can be at the bottom and still, like, I mean, everything is going to look really, really shit at the bottom, basically. It's just how it works, right? So yeah, there you go. That's kind of my view on it.
Josh, what do you have to add?
Yeah, I think, again, September just is a blah month. So I just let this shop around now. Let it get the chop out of its system. Let it mean revert the mean reversion and give us some like flat zeroed out momentum for October, November, December. That's just across the board. Let all coins have their fun. I'd like whatever. Let AVAX and other phantom garbage scam run to infinity without me. Let Solana go to 6,000. I don't care. That way, people can rotate back into the majors in Q4.
Solana 6,000.
No, it's not going to 6,000.
Highest target I've heard yet.
Solana hit, so on the 1 year MA multiplier, just to round out the Solana talk, it did hit the top of that on the indicator. So whatever that means, it hit a good spot to pull back. But a lot of this stuff, ETH included, ETH BTC, could form a cup and handle into Q4 and then go for all-time highs in Q4. But it's got to hold levels, it's got to hold levels that aren't Don's failed experiment levels.
Yeah. I agree with everything y'all said on the majors, so I will use AVAX as my example, but I just think generally looking for these trades on all the layer ones we walked through is a decent idea, and until the thesis is broken, I just play the thesis. Which is, I think, that, for instance, this one's going into price expiration. You looked at Tezos, we looked at Algo. You just use them for your proxy, it doesn't matter. But when it tells me, like, this is an okay hold for continuation, if Bitcoin doesn't, like, turbo die, then I will continue assuming that and then using various coins within these ecosystems as my proxy for that, and then like the layer one coin as my kind of safer haven for whenever I think things get too hot. So that's what I've been doing for AVAX. And then I want to dabble in the Arbitrum ecosystem. I don't know if I'll have the guts to make it over to Tezos and stuff, but if anybody has good ideas for where I should dabble with layer ones, I will consider dabbling. But I think that's a fun trade if we're going to crab around on the majors. Go ahead, Josh.
And if I'm right about Q4, it's important for everybody to remember what happened in 2017, 2018, which is when alts peaked. Like they did, but they peaked super late December and even early in January. So there could even be another like echo cycle after BTC and ETH. Even though ETH was kind of January as well.
Ideally, I think you see. And I think that might be the big difference maker this time. Is like ETH and BTC might run together, or I don't know. Let's just say BTC. Like if BTC runs Q4 and does really well, and alts lag, if you can capture that trade, you can capture that rotation to Bitcoin or Ethereum or whichever one you think is going to be bullish. Out of these layer one trades, out of these altcoin trades, you capture that, you're almost guaranteed to get that like reflection trade on alts that's good but disappointing on a relative basis after that's done. And if you can pull that double whammy going into the end of the year, then I don't think you could ask for a better 2021 in total. Like in terms of the way the rotations work. So if we're lucky enough to get a little bit of extra meat off the bone from these rotation trades, get it back to the majors, and they actually do have markup into all-time high territory, man, that would be That'd be a heck of a finish to the year. Maybe it's hopium, but that's what I would aim for.
One other thing I definitely don't expect is I don't expect the DeFi Q1 that we had in 2020 to recur in 2021.
You mean 2022?
Or 2022, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
that was unusual, and I don't think that's going to happen again for DeFi anyway.
Yeah, I have to work on my thesis. It depends on whether Bitcoin and Ethereum move, whether they move together, et cetera. But some rotation back to the majors, unless everything breaks down now and is dead and we're talking at the top. I think that trade would be a really valuable one. And it's hard to do, right? Like after you have all this time speculating in altcoins and random layer ones, stuff you hate, whatever, it's really hard to like send yourself back to like the basics, you know, and just like hold Bitcoin for 2 months straight. So we'll see if that can happen. Anything else?
No, I think
that's all I got.
All right. Thanks everybody for being here. Thanks to FTX for being our partners. Go to weeklyOpen.com/FTX. You can catch us on Mondays at 11 a.m. Eastern time for Weekly Open. Go to weeklyopen.com to catch the replays. Shout out Dynasty for helping us out with all the tech stuff. And thanks for hanging out. We'll catch everybody next week, next Monday. See you later.